Welcome to this web lecture on emission reduction and the rest of operations. So, what we would like to do is we would like to reduce transport emissions, and we really should do so because what we're seeing is that 20% of global GHG emissions stem from transport, and transport emissions, unlike almost any other category of emissions, continues to increase. So one option that we're having is we can adapt our operations. But if we adapt our operations to minimize the emissions instead of another objective, then obviously we have to understand how this emission reduction impacts the rest of the operations. So how does it affect, for example, costs, transport time, or the service quality? Or, for example, also fairness. So, for example, that all customers get the same service quality instead of giving very different service qualities to different people. So what we can do is we can look into an example, and this example is this. So here we have a factory on the left, and this factory would like to distribute goods to the other four facilities. So for example, the house, to the city, or to the farm. And they can use all the streets in this network, but some of these streets are highways, and at a highway you obviously emit a little bit more, but you're also faster. So that is giving us some level of trade-off. So what you can see here is first the emissions and then the transport time. So if we're exclusively interested in reducing emissions, the route that we're getting is this one. This route gives us emissions of 11, and it's going to give us a transport time of 14. If we look into this route, this is the travel time minimal route, what we're seeing is that our travel time goes down to 12, but our emissions go up to 13. So what we would like to have is we would like to have some level of balance between these two emissions. And one way of analyzing this trade-off is the so-called Pareto frontier. So what we're doing is we're plotting some of the potential solutions, so the two solutions that we saw before and a few others, into a diagram where we see on the one hand side the emissions and on the other hand the transport time. And what we're seeing is that if we're exclusively interested in driving down the emissions, so to get down to the minimal emissions of 11 here on the left, we can choose one of these three solutions. But then among these three solutions, definitely the bottom one is going to be the best, because this as a secondary goal is also going to reduce our transport time. If we're exclusively interested in reducing the travel time, then we would use one of those two solutions here at the bottom. Additionally, of course, if we really like to see the balance, then we can still say, okay, when are we going to choose this solution here at 11 and 14, and when are we going to use the one at 12 and 13? And this really depends now on how we value emissions versus transport time. And this is something that we can now make a choice with the Pareto frontier, because in the end this is not a decision for someone external, this is a decision that the company themselves has to make. So what I would like you to take away from this video on impact of operations, or the rest of operations, is first of all the impact that transport emission reduction is having, which other objectives we can be looking at, and how to visualize this trade-off. Thank you.